The sad life of Elizabeth of Austria. When you take a look at Elizabeth's portraits, the first thing you notice is her beauty and innocence. But despite everything, Elizabeth's life was marked by tragedy, and she had a sad, tragic life and spent most of her years struggling with anxiety and disordered eating. Although she was known for her beauty and taking care in her great appearance. What actually happened to Empress Elizabeth? Hi, welcome to History Rediscovered. Remember to support our channel, please subscribe. Empress Sisi was born on Christmas Eve as Elizabeth Amalie Eugenie, Duchess in Bavaria, on December 24, 1837, in Munich, Bavaria. She was the fourth child and second daughter of her parents Duke Maximilian, Joseph, and Princess Ludovika of Bavaria. They had other children, but compared to her aristocratic families, their children's lives were relatively unstructured. Her mother died due to complications from measles, which left her father so devastated. Elizabeth's early life was quite privileged, but not for so long. As a member of the Bavarian royal family, she had access to all the best that money could buy. She was educated by private tutors and had a governess to look after her. In addition, she was given dance and music lessons and was taught how to speak French, Italian, and English. One of Elizabeth's favorite pastimes was horseback riding, which she took up when she was just 6 years old. Known by her childhood nickname Sisi, she was wed to the 24-year-old Emperor Franz Joseph of Austria, the absolute monarch of the largest empire in Europe outside Russia. This unusual entrance into public life was one in a string of tragedies that marked Sisi's reign, placing her within a long line of reluctant royal consorts trapped in gilded cages. Sisi's husband, Franz Joseph, was hardworking and loved her, but had little imagination or humor. The new couple's mothers had intended for the handsome 24-year-old emperor to marry Sisi's sophisticated older sister, but Franz Joseph had been captivated by Sisi from the moment he saw her. When Sisi got married, she was just a teenager and depended upon her parents for emotional support. And she didn't quite fully understand what marriage actually came with, nor did she fully understand her role as a wife. She began suffering health problems within days. Most of the time, she was always frightened and always sad. Struggling to fit into court life, she actually clashed with Archduchess Sophie, her aunt and mother-in-law. Elizabeth gave birth 10 months after her marriage. Sophia, her mother-in-law and aunt, named the baby after herself. Upon doing that, she also got the baby away from Elizabeth. She couldn't let Elizabeth care for her child because she thought she wasn't a good mother. Elizabeth had another child after a year. Yet again, she was snatched away from her mother by Sophia. Sophia never liked Elizabeth, so she took every opportunity to disgrace her. This in turn brought tension between the two of them. Sophia actually went as far as telling Elizabeth she was worthless because she had not yet produced a male child who was supposed to be heir to the throne. In 1857, Elizabeth was 19 years old. She and her husband and her two daughters went on holiday in Hungary. Elizabeth loved it there and didn't want to return. Moreover, she wanted to be away from Sophia. She genuinely loved Hungary and the country was beautiful. Unfortunately, one of her daughters, Sophia, fell ill and died in Hungary. This loss actually struck her so hard and she was depressed for some time. The family finally returned to Vienna. Upon arrival, Elizabeth was told she was not fit to be mother because she had left her daughter die. In 1858, Elizabeth gave birth again to a male child who was later Crown Prince Rudolph of Austria. After finally giving birth to a son, she returned to many interests and pastimes to fill the hours. She read and wrote poetry. She traveled and she studied the culture of her people, especially in Hungary, because she loved the Hungarian people. Despite her inward misery, Sisi appeared outwardly so beautiful, owing to her obsession with her appearance. Famous for her beauty, Sisi devoted much time to maintaining it. Records indicate she spent 3 hours a day taking care of her long, beautiful hair. When dressing, it took roughly an hour to cinch her waist to a pushing 19.5 inches. As Sisi aged, she became morbidly afraid of wrinkles, even wrapping slices of raw veal around her face when she slept. She stuck to a very meticulous diet, severely limiting her daily intake of food, and she exercised regularly. She also wore very tight corsets to keep up with her beauty. Her waist was eventually only 16 inches in circumference. Her fixation on fitness became an unhealthy obsession, resembling the symptoms of modern eating disorders. On June 8, 1867, Franz Joseph and Elisabeth were finally crowned as constitutional monarchs of Hungary. As a demonstration of their goodwill, the Hungarian people gave the couple a gift of the Baroque castle of Godolo on the outskirts of Buda. 1 year later, Sisi decided to give birth for the last time. She gave birth to her last and most doted upon child, the Archduchess Maria Valerie. Elizabeth spent long periods of time at Godolo with her children. Years later, after Gisela was married and Rudolf had started his military training, Sisi started another intensive round of travels, this time accompanied by Maria Valerie. Unfortunately, terrible tragedy struck in the early 1889. Sisi's 30-year-old son and the heir to the throne, Crown Prince Rudolf, and Mary Vetsera, his 17-year-old mistress and lover, had been found dead in an apparent double suicide at a hunting lodge in Mayerling. The Mayerling incident became a sensational scandal across Europe. Upon hearing this, Elizabeth was so devastated and she wore black for the rest of her life. She never stopped mourning her loss. Fortunately, by this time, her relationship with her husband had improved and they maintained a very good friendship. In the fall of 1898, Sisi visited Geneva, and on September 10th, she walked to the lakeside to take the ferry to Montreal with Countess Emma. Another pedestrian bumped into her. She felt a sharp pain against her rib but brushed it off and continued to walk to the ferry. She had been stabbed in the chest with a homemade knife. Once on board, the 6-year-old Empress fainted from blood loss. She briefly regained consciousness and Emma asked if she was okay, to which she replied, "No, what happened?" She then drifted out again and never returned. She died that same night. Her murderer, an Italian anarchist called Luigi Eugenie, said in his confession that he personally had nothing against the Empress, only that he wished to kill a royal. Sisi wanted to be buried on the shores of the Mediterranean, but Franz Joseph overruled her wishes and laid her instead in the Capuchin crypt in Vienna, the place she despised and hated so much. There she still lies at the heart of the city she never loved and which never understood her.